Hello, everyone. This is Rita, and I am so pleased to be here with Patty and Bill and Lori to continue our discussion on housing options for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so today we are talking about group homes. And I'm so happy and excited to have our guests with us to tell us about their experiences. And so before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your sons, daughters, and what what inspired you to go ahead and decide to transition your son or daughter into a group home setting? And we'll start with Patty and Bill.
Okay. Go ahead, Bill. I'll take our first son and allow Patty to do our second son. Christopher, what?
Never mind, go ahead.
Christopher is 59 years old, born in 1960. With a rare condition, he was born without eyes. So he was obviously blind. We learned later on that he was mentally retarded at a very severe level and cerebral palsy. He lived in our home with the whole family being caregivers for over 30 years. 35 years to be exact. And at that point in time, we were offered a Medicaid waiver. Mm-hmm. And we knew that at some point in time, we would have to make that decision to transition him into a different setting. And we took it, and he's been there basically ever since. So he lives in United Cerebral Palsy Group Home, and he attends a day program. And our second son, Jeffrey, want to handle him?
Jeffrey, yes, we were offered a Medicaid waiver for Jeffrey. Quite unexpectedly, I was not ready for Jeffrey to go into a group home at that time, and asked them to wait 48 hours so I could think about it and get with the rest of the family. And by then our grown children also, we all discussed it and decided that it would probably be best to go ahead and take the waiver because we may not get it offered again. And so he's also in the UCP group home, separate of his brother. They're not together, which I didn't want them together.
And Jeffrey was born with similar problems as Christopher. He did have one functioning eye. The other
hydrocephalus.
The other eye was there, but it was not functioning. So he has a cosmetic piece over his eye, so he looks normal. He's at a higher functioning level than Christopher. He's a very gregarious, outgoing little guy. I might add that both of our sons did not go through puberty. So although they are 59 and 50 years old respectively, they are inside the bodies of about an 8 or 10-year-old boy, which made it possible when our other adult children left the family for us to care for them in our own home because we didn't have to deal with a large man. Like one of our other sons was 6'5". So if we had that situation, it would be very difficult to handle.
So you all handled the care at home until they were both about 30-ish?
30 to 35, yeah.
30 to 35, okay. And Lori, what about you?
Our son, Robbie Howard, was born in 1983. He's 37 years of age. We found out at 11 months of age when he wasn't developing as a normal baby. CAT scan showed that he was denied oxygen in the third trimester and 60% of his brain was damaged. He was evaluated again at 3, and we were told that he probably would not progress mentally beyond the age of 18 months to 2 years of age, which has proved to be correct. He's nonverbal. He can walk with a walker. He can feed himself, and he enjoys TV, and he also goes to High Hope Center. We kept him at home until he was 21 years of age. We made the decision to place him. Well, let me backtrack. I placed him on a waiting list for the Medicaid waiver when he was 6. We were not reached for 10 years until he was 16. And at that time, United Cerebral Palsy entered our lives, and they sent caregivers to the home because my husband and I both worked full time, and we had another son that was 3 years younger than Robbie. And we used the caregivers at home until Robbie was 21. At the beginning of our youngest son's senior year in high school, an opening became available at a group home in Snellville, not too far from where we live in Norcross, and we accepted the opportunity because the then residents were very nice young men, and we liked the fact that this particular group home was one level built as a group home, and so we agreed to put Robbie in this group home in 2004 when he was 21, so we could devote our time to our youngest son for his senior year and looking at colleges, because he had helped tremendously in the raising of his brother. And we just wanted to give him some time, our time to him. The experience has been wonderful for us overall.
That is really great to hear, Lori. And so, Patty and Bill, how did you decide on a provider, or was there a process, or was there just an opening and it was kind of right place, right time?
Well, I was involved with the Community Service Board also at the time, and we had looked into that. I was part of the auxiliary at the Community Service Board Day program, and we had purchased as an auxiliary 4 group homes, and we were in charge of them. And I wanted the Christopher to go into one of those, but there was no room in any of the homes. So UCP, I was on the board of United Cerebral Palsy, and they were in the process at my urging to open some group homes. So when they opened their first one, Christopher was in that one.
And Lori, and go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say that home was built specifically for special needs people. They had 5 in the home.
Okay. And Lori, what was the decision-making process in terms of a provider?
I interviewed 3 different providers. As a background, I was a legal assistant, and I worked for a number of attorneys who helped me with estate planning and special needs. And I was convinced that I wanted to go with an organization that was established. I didn't want to put him in a mom and pop type place where I didn't know what would happen if they died. I know with United Cerebral Palsy that there will always be a caregiver in the home or caregivers. And Diane came to the house, and we liked her instantly. And I did some research, and it was an easy decision to make. Very easy decision to make.
But you did do research, right? So you did interview, you didn't just, so what was that research like? That would be very helpful, I think, for families to understand.
I went online and researched what other providers had to offer. We did use a caregiver 2 years before UCP during the summer for a week if we went on vacation. It was a woman whose husband had come home from the Vietnam War handicapped, and she had a house built him to take care of him. And when he died, she decided to be a caregiver for special needs people. And she and her daughter were doing it, and they really wanted Robbie. But then I had to think, when she dies and her daughter dies, what happens to Robbie? So I wanted to go with an organization that was a corporate organization that would be in place for a good long time, for Robbie's lifetime. And Robbie's fully funded because of my Social Security, and my husband was a federal worker, and Robbie is funded through that as well.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah, I want to add that anyone that is something available there as well. If one of you is a federal worker, the pension will carry on when we're both gone. But because my husband never paid into Social Security, so I had to for Robbie to get benefits, and I worked full time with 2 children to take care of Robbie.
Wow. So, all right. So you did your research. It sounds like Patty and Bill, you were very engaged and involved in the disability community. So you had done your research by being engaged yourself. So
from day one.
Yeah. So tell me again, Patty, what was
I said from day one of the birth of Christopher. Yes. We lived in Dayton, Ohio, and I did a lot with developing infant stimulation programs and finally getting the children, helping to get the children into school programs and stuff, and getting physical therapy and occupational therapies involved in the school programs.
And
So
in 1975, she was named Woman of the Year in the state of Ohio, and went to Columbus and was presented a very nice certificate by the governor.
Oh, fantastic. So can you talk a little bit about, and I'll go to Lori in a second, how important it is for families to stay engaged no matter how old we get or, mature we get, let's just say that, how important it is for family to stay engaged. And I'll go to Lori next.
Okay. Do you want me to speak or?
Go ahead, Lori. Yes.
Okay. Initially, our pediatric neurologist who diagnosed Robbie at 11 months put me in touch with Parent to Parent, which is a wonderful organization. And they paired me with another mother who had a handicapped child. And this was before the internet. She had notebooks of resources. Other mothers were my rocks. They really helped me with physical therapy, with respite programs, and it was just fabulous. And then he went to a special needs school, the North Fulton Training Center, and there were resources there as well. And then once he entered the Gwinnett County school system, the social workers at Oakland Center were just amazing. In fact, the Oakland Center social worker, when Robbie was 22, was the one who convinced me to place him in a group home when the opportunity became available, because I was very hesitant. And she told me these opportunities don't present themselves very often. Take advantage of it when it's presented. And we did. And we have no regrets at all.
And Patty, you wanted to say, what's the experience been like for your sons?
It's been very good. 99% of the time, other people are not going to do everything the way you do it when you're with them, but you work with people, and if you let them know what works for that child at that time, they're all very willing to know and anxious to do the best they can do. And we've been very, very happy with UCP.
Well,
go ahead, Bill.
I might add that when God gives you a special needs child, you are a caregiver for life, whether they are with you every day, like our sons were for over 30 years each, or they're in a group home in a day program. We are still actively engaged in everything they do, and we visit them regularly, bring them home regularly, and that. During the pandemic, it's been very difficult to deal with the reality of our sons and the other clients in the home being literally sheltered in place for over a year. Even the caregivers come and go every day, but the clients are there all the time. And if there was one issue that we were really concerned about, it was the strategic planning for United Cerebral Palsy in terms of what would happen in a catastrophic event. Well, the pandemic was a catastrophic event. And although they tried to make up for it, there was a large hole during each day when the clients would normally be in a day program, but they're at home and they're sheltered there at home. And we anticipated that that might bring about a serious mental concern for all of the clients. What is it like? Can you imagine being locked up in a home? In an instance when there was a possibility of exposure, they were locked in their bedrooms for over 2 weeks at a time. So it was a very difficult situation. So I think coming out of this, Diane and the management team at UCP saw obviously the need for a different kind of strategic planning to be able to handle other future possible emergencies like this so that the clients are not inadvertently harmed during the process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Lori, what about you? Anything different for regarding COVID?
Terribly, since he can't talk, I would call and sing him songs that I sang to him as a baby over the phone. And then we would do Snapchat with one of the aides that's been there since the very beginning. She could do that and he could see me. And then once we could visit outside, we would have lunch with him on the table on their outside deck. And we've done that a number of times. But I put my energy into providing a lot of supplies to the home that we would, and we always provide Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner. We brought a Valentine's Day dinner. Every other week, I would call and have a pizza delivered, a meal on Friday nights, just to change things in their routine because I care about the caregivers. And I go out of my way. We go out of our way on Christmas, providing each of the 7 caregivers with very nice gifts. And we remembered them on their special day as well, another gift giving, Christmas in July. They are our lifeline. And I'm very close with the group home manager. I can call her anytime. And Maud, who's the LPN who's been there since 2004 on weekends, she's like Robbie's second mom. She loves him as much as I do. And so I have the comfort of knowing there's somebody there that cares about him as much as I do. So it was difficult not being able to see him and take him out to lunch every other Saturday. But now we're back to having lunch with him in the backyard. And that seems to work well. And arts and crafts, they would bring people in, do things in the kitchen table. But he loves TVs, and we would send DVDs that he likes. We purchased and donated a large screen TV to the home living room many years ago. So they have that, and he has a large screen TV in his bedroom. So all the comforts of home are right there.
So it sounds like, Lori, that you, and I'm sure Patty and Bill, you do the same thing. You really fostered that relationship with the direct staff, the house manager, et cetera, over a period of years.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So is that something that you would advise other families to do?
Oh, other families, I think you definitely have to be involved. The staff appreciate it too. I mean, just to get the help and to know that you are caring and that you care for your child and that you're very happy that you have people there that will take care of them. Yes. And just to give them the support they need. You know, if it's fixing a lunch and buying a lunch and taking it to them, which we did a lot of that too. And, sending a pizza and just letting them know we really appreciate them and all the time.
We would, during the cold months, we would go and have what we called storm door visits. We would stand outside since we weren't allowed inside, and Jeffrey would come to the door. In Christopher's home, they have a sheltered entryway, and he would come out in his wheelchair, and we would be able to see them. We couldn't hug and kiss them and whatnot, but just being there with them was a significant thing for them that they would look forward to every week.
such a difficult time. I'm sure you all are very happy and optimistic that we're moving in a better direction in terms of COVID. The last thing I will ask you is, there are families out there watching that are wrestling with this decision of, what happens when I die? What happens to my son or daughter? And at the options out there, whether they're living in their own home or in a group home. Since you all have that group home experience, are there any lessons or insights that you would like to share with families that are making that decision? And I'll start with Lori on that.
Well, because I had the advantage of working for attorneys in estate planning, I made the decision to make an estate plan early on, providing for Robbie. And his brother knows that he will manage Robbie's finances and review his quarterly allocation of funds, but that's it. But Robbie is taken care of legally once we're no longer here. But I plan that way in advance. But I have faith in the staff, especially Diane and Laura, the CFO of UCP. They know what to do if Bob and I are no longer around, on how to access our assets. It took a lot of planning, a lot of paperwork, especially with the federal government, a lot of record keeping, assembling records, but it's done. And you just have to be on top of it. But once we're no longer here, there's a plan in place for Robbie's care. With you.
That's very important. Yes.
Patty, you wanted to say?
Well, I'll just say, I think that's very important. That's what we've been doing also. And we have our daughter who will be taking over and, checking on things and taking care of the boys when we pass on. But yeah, and I agree with Lori when she was doing her searching. I felt like we needed to have somebody an organization such as the Community Service Board that would be there for a long time, UCP, who will be there hopefully for a long time too, as opposed to the mom and pop homes, which I think are very good. But then you also have to face the fact that when they die, do they have somebody to carry on for them in their mom and pop home to take care of who are in there? And if not, what happens to them?
Right. Yeah. So, any parting words for families? I again want to thank you very much for participating in this interview. You're going to be helping a lot of families through your own experiences. Any parting words for families out there, Lori? Bill.
Okay. I think it's very important that parents have a sense that they are abandoning their child. That's why it's so very important to start the weaning process very early, that you are totally engaged with the staff, that some of these staff members have been like second mothers to our sons and that. And when you see that relationship develop, when you see your child hug a caregiver as he would hug his mother or his father, it's important that the parent understands that you're not abandoning the child. All you're doing is transitioning them into a different environment, which is necessary because we are aging. That's a reality of life. There's a strong probability that our sons will outlive us. There will be a time when we're gone and we can't care for them or be a part of their life like we are now. But we are hopeful, just like normal adult children, when they leave the nest, they adjust. We believe that when we go, that our sons will adjust to that because they have others there who are loving them besides our family members. And the caregivers have become a part of that important transition.
And that must give you so much peace, Bill. What about you, Lori?
My husband and I believe that as Robbie was approaching 21, if a spot became available in a very good group home, we would accept it because he is of the normal age when a child usually leaves home for college or a job. And so we took it in stride. We knew we had to plan also for our other son's future as well. And there was one group home that we did turn down before UCP. We were offered a spot and we said no. We just didn't like it. It wasn't handicap accessible enough. But when the one in Snellville became available, we jumped at it because it was just perfect, and it still has been. And I would recommend one thing we did. We let Robbie spend the night for 2 weekends before we placed him permanently to see how he adjusted. And he adjusted well. But the sooner the better. We thought, we were getting older as well. Age 21 was right for us to place him. And we provided him with a loving home since birth. But at age 21, when the spot became available, we took it because it could have been another 10 years for another opening. I know so many people that are still waiting. And then my other advice is do your research, get an estate plan, talk to a special needs attorney, do your due diligence, do your planning, have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
So important, absolutely. And thank you again so very much for sharing your experience with us. I know we've had little technical glitches here and there, but overall, the message I think is very hopeful. And so again, thank you for taking the time to be with me today and to share your story.